you can only solder clean metal, and you can see that some of this lead is nice and bright, and that will solder well. This is a bit tarnished because it's old, so you just scrub it and it takes off the scuzzy surface. So when you heat up the metal, the surface oxidizes, and oxidized metal won't solder. So if you put this magic stuff on, flux, and we work with a thing called tallow, and tallow is actually a candle from the olden days. For cheap, it's cheap because it's candle made of beef fat. So we rub it on each joint, and that will allow us to solder it. Lead has quite a low melting point. Solder has a higher melting point. And the idea is to solder each joint so that you melt the solder, but you don't melt the lead.
Melt the solder, no, not melt the lead. Okay.
So if you leave your soldering iron in the same place for too long, you will melt a hole in your lead, and it is retrievable, so don't worry. If you don't leave your soldering iron long enough, your solder won't flow and you won't get a nice joint. So you have to watch your solder. You touch the solder to the joint, and then you touch the soldering iron on top of it like that.
Okay.
And what you're doing is not just melting the solder, you're actually heating up the lead.
Okay.
Because once the lead is warm and the solder is heated, it will flow.
Yeah.
And at that point, when people see that happen, they take the iron off, and that's too soon. You have to leave it on for just a couple more seconds.
Like that?
Except now you can't get your thing off. Yeah, now you see you took it away and it's made a peak. No, you don't need that anymore. Remelt that blob. No, you don't need that anymore. You've got the solder on it. No, you don't use it like you don't use it like a paintbrush, okay?
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Everyone wants to. You lay it on
Yeah.
until it flows. Now, most of the solder in this joint is here, so it's not got much of a joint going on there. If you pass the flux, we'll put a bit more flux on.
Yeah.
Now, I'll do this, and you can see. No, it's okay. So you don't move your soldering iron, and that's.
Wow.
So, the next thing we'll do is push it up this way a bit. No, this.
Sorry.
Push it that way a bit. Because we're going to remove this. So if you stand opposite me, we are going to, it's going to, as if it's hinged here, we're going to lift this edge up like that.
Wait, sorry, repeat.
Okay.
Repeat it.
So we're going to lift all of these three up together, like that.
Yeah.
And then we're going to tip it all the way over, push it back on, and it's going to be resting on this board.
Okay.
Okay. Right. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now we're going to sort of wiggle it that way. All three pieces together. Okay. Right. Can you put your hand under here?
This one.
And then push it. Oh, look, maybe it won't work like that. We'll just lay it down, and as we lay it down, push it further onto the.
Sorry.
Right, now lift it all the way down. All the way down.
Good, what was
Now.
that cracking sound?
Oh, help me push. Hang on. We need to push this piece of wood that's at the bottom.
Push that on.
Don't knock the glass off the wood. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Now we are going to lift this up
Yeah.
down to here. Okay.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Sorry about your hand.
No.
We knew that was going to happen. So that was very successful.
Oh gosh, that took a few years. Of
It
work.
is a hideous thing to do, and I had broken pieces trying to do it on my own.
Oh.
Now let's split the difference because this board wasn't quite big enough, but then the other one was wider. But we're safe now.
Yeah.
We're safe. So now, solder the other side.
Done.
Brilliant. So, I'll unplug this. Excellent. Now cementing.
Ah.
And it's made of a sort of chalk dust
Yeah.
and plaster of Paris or casting
Ah.
plaster
Yeah.
and linseed oil, which is this stuff,
Yeah. That's
and white spirit.
Mm.
And you mix it up to a recipe.
Yeah.
And some people like it runny, some people like it stiff. This is really runny. So I'm going to put a bit more whiting in.
Yeah.
Because there's a double layer of glass, the one thing we don't want to happen, and which would be such a disaster, would be if when we're pushing it in,
Yeah. Wait,
It's-
so I'm gonna
okay,
go all this.
if
Yeah.
it's too runny, it'll squeeze out between your two sheets of glass,
Oh.
which
So.
would not be a happy accident.
No, that one off.
It would be a sad accident. So I'm going to make it really stiff. It's going to be safer,
Yeah.
actually.
Okay.
Less is more.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
put this on,
Oh. So
pick a bit up,
like that.
and you scrub from both sides.
Mm.
So, and you see that I'm basically just pushing it into the joint.
Yeah.
And because this is very fat lead,
Mm.
you can get a lot in.
What is the biggest mistake you can make doing this?
Well, after you've put it on, you have to scrub it off, and if you don't scrub it off properly,
Yeah.
you'll have it stuck to the top of your glass forever, especially your lead. You'll never get it off your lead, and that's a bit devastating. But if it's not a double piece of glass, I use a scrubbing brush, a much bigger brush, but
Yeah.
there will not be any way to get the cement out if it does push through between the two sheets of glass. So this was whiting I swapped off my
Mm.
winner the other day, you can use it more than once.
Yeah.
And this is quite clean as whiting goes. So this is what we're doing. Okay. Rub it, rub it, rub it. Not, you don't have to put too much on, but enough that it is going to absorb the moisture. Yeah, not mitre joints. You need to get a frame made that's more like the sort of frame they use in windows, because a mitre joint, this is going to weigh 10 kilos, and that is too heavy for mitre joints. Glass, pound for pound, is the same weight as concrete.
Oh my.
And you've got double layers,
Yeah.
so it would just break a frame if it was more like a picture frame with mitre joints. So your technicians or DT teachers will know what sort of joints they want to do. Just scrub on top of this as well, in case you need to take any cement off there. So, same as before, we will just lift it so that this edge runs parallel with this edge.
This edge. This edge, yeah.
And then we're going to lift it up like that and drag it that way. Then drop this board down and put it the other side. Okay, so let's push it that way a bit. And up it goes. Now, rub it. If I hold it,
Hold the glass and move the board.
you switch the board round. Oh, I've got it.
Switch the board around and go behind it.
So it goes on this side of the board. Right, make sure the bottom edges are together. Okay. Now, as we drop it, we're going to have to move it nearer the edge of the table. That's it. Lovely. And there's only one more thing I'm going to do while you're not here.
Yeah.
So because this is a very heavy piece of work, I'm worried that it will start to squash down this bottom piece of lead and it will sink in the frame. So what you can do for that is get a square profile piece of steel and cut it to size and insert it into the bottom lead.
So is that what I should do with the frame? Like, should I?
I'm going to do this
to
your. I'm going to do this to your panel so that when
Yeah.
it's put into the frame,
Okay.
under its own weight, it doesn't just kind of sit down, because lead is not that strong. It's basically soft. You know, you can bend it with your finger. So under 10 kilos of weight, it will start to. What's the word for that?
Shrink.
No, not shrink.
Contract.
No, not contract.
Forward.
Squash. For want of a better word. I'm sure there is a better word.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you so much.
So you've got the measurements.
Yeah.
Let me know and I'll do a little diagram of the sort of profile you need. But you should consider how wide you want your frame to be. You know, this wide, this wide, this wide.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Lovely job. Well done, Bella.
I can't believe we've actually finished it.
Yeah. So we'll leave it to set. So it'll just have to sit here for a week.
Yeah.
So I've put a strengthening bar inside the lead cane here, because under its own weight it would just squash it flat.
Yeah.
So that's the edge that you should, if you're going to have it in this wood and leaning on something, put it on this side, not on this side. So what we're going to do now, do you want to pull it towards you a bit? Now, I didn't have a board that was quite wide enough, as you see here, so don't grab there.
Okay.
What we're going to do is bring it this way and tip it so that it becomes vertical, and this ends up on the floor.
That.
This
Oh, that.
This edge is going to end up on the floor. Okay? That's it, just let it, I think we've taken all the weight. Okay, now, which is the front?
The other side.
Excellent, we're right way round.
Okay.
So, let's get it upright.
Yeah.
And then, now, the next thing to know is that when you lift it, don't lift it from the middle of the lead because you will pull the lead off the glass. So always lift it where there's a joint. So I'm going to do the outside edge.
Replace a window with that.
We could. Actually. Good. I think it actually seems